Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sabrina Mensah, also known as Cherry. I am the author of the book It's Not the Mirror That's Dirty and founder of a natural skincare brand in the making. I talk all things self-worth, healing, natural beauty and conscious living. This video may be a little shorter as I've been working really hard behind the scenes, but I still want to share something meaningful. Here are some life lessons that I would give my younger self that could hopefully help you on your journey right now. On your glow up, as you're elevating, you cannot help everybody. Not everybody can come with you. Everybody is on their own personal journeys, and it is not your job to save people from whatever decisions they've decided to make in their lives. Everybody that is born with choices, and we have to suffer the consequences or benefit from the consequences that we make. It's your job to live a life that creates the best outcome for you. And it is not your job to take on other people's burdens. And me as a young girl got very used to playing the role of helping everybody else and not ever thinking of my needs and what I needed in life. And I got so used to that role that it became a part of my adulthood life, and it affected me in ways that were life-changing, and not always life-changing in the best ways possible, but were life-changing. And I don't believe I would have needed those lessons if I took what I know now back to my childhood self and grew with those. I'm not responsible for anybody, and nor are you. If people have made their choices in life, and the only person that can change their lives is that person. And I always had this very heavy burden of looking after everybody else, making sure everybody else was okay, trying to change people from their problems or get people to stop with their addictions or save them. And it was more of a God complex than anything else when I look back at it. And it hurt me in the end. And it will hurt you if you keep trying to save everybody. You need to save yourself, and the right people will follow you. That's your job. Your job is not to save people who are falling. They've made their choices, you make yours. I spent a lot of my childhood keeping very lonely people company. And I wouldn't always necessarily even want to be in their company, but I felt sorry for them, and they're alone and they haven't got anyone, or they're going through this or they're going through that. And it took years and years of seeing no results that I got to a point where I really understood that maybe these people are alone because they've made bad choices in their life. I'm not now responsible for that. Maybe this person has this addiction because they've chose to go that way, and they actually don't want to get out of it, and they want to keep going that route. But because I didn't, I would try and fix people and help them because I didn't want to become that person. I didn't want to become a person with addictions. I didn't want to become lonely. And so I would sit with them, and they would sacrifice my life for theirs. And then once they'd kind of got what they needed, they would be on to the next issue or on over here. And so a lot of people can be like that who don't want to elevate and don't want better for themselves. And most of the people that I know now that are lonely because of their behaviors, the way they treat others. And so I wasn't helping them sticking around. I was actually hindering the consequences of their behavior. Most people that are alone and lonely are because they treat people awfully. And so it was a good thing that I left them and focused on what fulfilled me as a person. And I wish I could tell my younger self that. Number 2 is there is nothing wrong, and you never have to feel guilty for standing up for yourself and what you believe is right. As a child, I was always told I wasn't able to have a voice. I wasn't allowed to voice my opinion because there was always an authority figure whose opinion meant more. And so the message I got in my house was my opinion did not matter. And this person's opinion, this person's life meant more than mine. They were more valuable than me. And it's taken me to my adulthood to realize that my opinions and my thoughts and how I see life and situations are just as valid as the adult who's taking care of me. And if I could tell my younger self that, and say, you know, every time you have a parent or a guardian that is trying to tear down how you feel or tear down your reality, that is abusive, that is not right, and it is valid. Even if it seems silly to the adult, it's real and genuine to you. And so I began to honor that. So honor these things, and when you look back and you have time to reflect on the things that you needed as a child or you required, you realize that these were valid needs that weren't met. And they weren't met because there was anything wrong with you. They weren't met because the guardian or the parent or parents that were looking after you had their own issues. And they didn't know, maybe they didn't know how to emotionally fulfill you in these ways. But there was never anything wrong with you or wrong with me, you know, coherently wrong. And I get a lot of people that come from bad childhood homes believe that their needs and anything they need is never valid because the other parent or the parents are always so much more important. That's not true. Children are so important because we are the next generation. So things that, you know, we need are just as important as our parents. I'd say more so. So that is something I would definitely tell my younger self. All the needs that I had and everything that I was not given emotionally and that security that I craved, that was valid. That was a valid need and I should never feel guilty for it. So anytime I have a need now, I say it, don't feel guilty about it because I've told my younger self, it's okay, you can have that. Number 3, I would tell my younger self, do not believe that the more you keep forgiving people because they are family, that the more they will change. In fact, the more you forgive family members for their bad behavior, the more they will believe they can get away with doing it. So that's something that I would definitely tell my younger self. I was always in a perpetual state of forgiving and forgiving and forgiving and allowing. And because they were the people that were closest to me, they thought they could get away with the things they were doing because we were family. And so I would have not have wasted so much time in keeping these relationships going if I knew what I know now. And a lot of us think that the more we keep forgiving, the more we'll see results. When the truth is, the more you keep forgiving, it just gives you an opportunity to hate that person more because they just keep letting you down. So I have learned that the more you keep forgiving does not mean that at all. And number 4, this one's my favorite. Don't let anybody tell you that who you are is not good enough. When I was a little girl, I was a mute. I was a selective mute. I really, really struggled talking to anybody. I would only ever speak to my mum and at the time, my 2 elder sisters. They're the only 3 people I'd ever speak to. And because of that, I spent a lot of time in my house being told that I was odd and there was something wrong with me. I've always been the black sheep. I've always been the one that stands out. I've always been the oddball. I've always been odd, and I've kind of taken that throughout my life. I've always been cast out of groups. People have tried to bully me for being different. I've always had that. And so when I look back at that, knowing what I know now, the reason why I was like that was because when I was little, I remember going into rooms and I could feel so intensely what was going on in that room. It would make me close up and be very quiet. And as I got older and I started learning and understanding myself, I realized the reason why I was so strange and people couldn't get me to speak was because I could go into rooms and I could read people's energy. And sometimes the energy was so bad, I just didn't know what it was. So it would make me it'd make me get nervous or angsty. But as I got older and I understood emotional intelligence, now I can understand what that was. So now I can read rooms very, very, very easily, because I was always told as a young girl that there was something wrong with me. I was too sensitive. I was always being told I was too sensitive. I was always being rejected from groups. I have been rejected by every single person that I've ever known. I've always been a walking reject all my life. And as I started spending more time alone and started knowing who I was, I started producing things that were quality and of value, and finding who I was and opening up my mouth and speaking what was on my mind. And then that created connections because people saw the value in it. And I wasn't crazy, or there wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just highly, highly sensitive. I'm very intuitive and I'm very sensitive, and I can read people, and I can read when I'm in a room I shouldn't be, and I can read when I'm in a room I should be. And because I know that now, I always put myself in the right rooms, and I can elevate, and I can benefit from, and I can alchemize negativity. When bad things happen, I know how to alchemize it. Hence why I do these videos, because anytime there is an issue, or you have a problem, or you have something going on, I can advise you how to alchemize it for your greater good. And when I was a little girl, I'd have my sisters that have friends, and they would hang out with each other, and I used to spend a lot of time on my own in my room creating. I would draw a lot. I've always been an artist. I haven't stopped drawing. I used to just draw fashion. I used to always draw catwalks and draw and create, and that never left me. And so as I got older and I started going into entrepreneurship, I took those qualities that people put me down for, and I used them to create my life. And so I've used my intuition when it comes to dealing with maybe business associates. I can use my gut instinct to know this isn't a good person to speak about my business or what I'm doing, or this is a good person. And being able to create and spending time alone where I can create. This is where I'm able to write books, to create a skincare brand, look after my child, be able to do things, and people can't understand how I do these things. But these are things that people try to tarnish me and put me down for all my life as I've been growing up, and reject me for. People laughing at me, thinking I was odd, I was weird, there was something wrong with me. These were my greatest gifts. So if you're going through that and people are rejecting you, it's because you're highly gifted, and you need to spend this time alone to plug into those gifts so you can produce something and create and make the world a better place. Now I'm older, now I'm wiser. I'm glad these people leave me alone. I'm glad I don't have to deal with people who don't see my value. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. Whereas before I would have taken it as a rejection when I was a little girl. Now I know what it is. I don't see it like that. I see it as people can either see value or they can't. Some people are blind to it and some people aren't. And I always knew that I had these gifts, but because I had people from when I was young, and as I got older, just constantly having groups of people, I kept meeting the same people over and over again, telling me that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. I had to kind of separate from them and do what I do best and think for myself. And so all the qualities I had when I was young have kind of stayed with me, and I've taken them into my adulthood, and I apply them to this day. I look at the world like a child. I'm inherently still just a child. I've just grown up now and I pay bills, but fundamentally I am like a grown child. I just alchemize it in a healthy way as an adult. I'm not childish, I'm not immature. However, I've got that childlike spirit. And anybody that's trying to tamper that or damper it, I would advise, don't ever let that happen, no matter who they are, whether it's parents, or whether as you get older it's friends or exes or anything. Don't let anybody take that away from you. And that's it for today. Just something small but from the heart. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe if you haven't already. But for now, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.